I'd like to share with you a scripture before I step down. King Solomon is addressing God and God's people on their behalf. He says, if my people will humble themselves and seek my name, let me read that again. If my people who are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and forgive their sin and heal their land. This is your land, isn't it? But the land that you stand on is the foundation of faith that you have. So, Mado, it's good that you are here and assembled, and I know you have great work before you. You'll do again great work, and your people are counting on you to do that. And I would like to say personally, I'm behind you, all of you. Mado.
Roll call, second speaker, David Hill. Present.
Representative Dale Weaver. Present. Representative Patrick Green. Here. Representative Joyce Deere. Present. Representative Johnny Green. Present. Representative Brandon Pierce. Present. Representative Robert Hook. Present. Representative James Jennings. Here. Representative Adam Young. Here. Representative Thomasine Osborne. Representative Gerald Crawford. Here. Representative Mark Randolph. Here. Representative Rufus Scott. Here. Representative Travis Scott.
Here.
You have 15 present, 1 absent.
15 present, 1 absent, constitutes a quorum. All business conducted to be official. Next item on the agenda be the quarterly report. Principal Chief James R. Floyd.
Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to be here this morning and present the report from the second quarter of the fiscal year from the executive branch, and to be back in the council house. It really feels historic today because the microphone's not working, and just like the old days when they didn't have it, so had to rely on those lungs this morning and keep it going. I wanted to just summarize the report, the second quarter report that each of the council members should have. I think it was presented to you earlier this week. And I'll just take a few minutes and highlight some of the significant changes from quarter to quarter. I'd like to report that the number of employees of the executive branch for the second quarter was 2,008. And the total payroll cost for the second quarter was $19,697,000. At the end of the second quarter, the permanent fund was $384,491,000. That's an increase of $12.1 million from the first quarter. And the total gaming revenue is up by 3.49% from this time, second quarter of fiscal year 18. I wanted to just highlight a little bit about the Department of Justice, the workload increases for the services under the Attorney General, and state that the workload continues to increase, and as they continue to have responsibilities in different areas. In particular, the number of cases open, the criminal felony cases were 17 during this quarter. Legal services cases were total 58. And child support cases opened this past quarter were 57. And so they continue to see their workload climb. Under human resource management, they were able to bring on 59 new hires this past quarter under the tribal side and 63 under the health department. And on March 4th this past year, we had our annual ethics training, and we had over 400 employees attend in person. It was filmed, and so the remainder of our employees will view that online. And then again this year, Second Chief and I'll sign the certificates for the completion of the mandatory ethics training, which has been well received by the staff. In the Department of Health, they continue to pursue their goals, and I just want to report on some of them. First of all, the patient satisfaction scores have increased 6% in the past quarter as they continue to meet their score goals. The department saw 30,261 patients in the clinics during the second quarter, and those visits increased by 2,687, or almost 9%. I think it's 9.7, excuse me, almost 10%. It's 9.7% as opposed to the first quarter. So the healthcare system continues to grow. In addition, third-party collections continue to increase as well. For the quarter, they were $16,706,000, a $3 million or 23% increase from this time last year. Of note also is that they have started a pain management and opioid addiction program, and so they held a conference on March 27th at River Spirit, which some of you may have attended. There were approximately 150 people from the communities and employees and other interested community members that attended, and I was there myself. It was very professional and I think very helpful to everyone on information about opioid addiction. In the Department of Community and Human Services, Children and Family Services continue to be very active, and recently they attended a state reunification and permanency conference and were able to have a meeting with Tulsa County judges to discuss the availability of programs within the Muskogee Creek Nation and the role they have in the courtrooms. And during this quarter, as an example of their workload, they assisted 484 children and attended 362 hearings in state and tribal court. Also of note in that department is the energy heating system program, assistance program ended on March 29th. And the energy program assisted 833 citizens this past season and spent a total of $333,000 in assisting them. So we're very proud of that program and look forward to it continuing. In the Department of Education, note that they were awarded $70,000. They have awarded up to $70,000 to 31 local schools in STEM grants. And these grants, as you may be aware, science, technology, engineering, and math. And the change they have is to allow the schools to design their individual programs. Has been highly successful, and with 31 of our schools out of 67 getting grants, it's almost 50% of our public school systems within the Muskogee Creek Nation were able to benefit. Also of note is the program that's unique that they started this year. It's what they call a formal wear drive program for high school students planning to go to prom. And during this past year, the initial year they had this, individuals donated more than 75 dresses and suits, and those were then provided to more than 60 students that were able to be dressed for prom at no cost. And I think that's a wonderful program. They will continue to do this again next year. So suits and prom dresses, that, I think very expensive sometimes, and to be able to have those and someone else can use them, I think it's very helpful. So I want to commend all the staff for volunteering to do that this past year. In higher education, they assisted 2,422 students with grants and scholarships awarded to them during this quarter, and it totaled more than $3.5 million. I want to just, under the Department of Education, highlight two other recognitions. One is under the Johnson O'Malley program. It's the Challenge Bowl, and so I think we had a very successful Challenge Bowl in 2019. And in doing so, at the elementary schools, we had 18 schools in the elementary competition, one community, and a total of 35 teams. The middle school competition had 15 school systems, 2 communities, and 46 teams. And the high school competition had 13 schools, 1 community, 1 organization, and 32 teams. In total, 541 students from within and outside our boundaries competed in the Challenge Bowl competition this year, so that continues to grow as well. We're very pleased with that. Second, the Muskogee Creek Nation Johnson O'Malley School Program received national recognition at the National JOM Conference in Las Vegas in March. The exemplary program for Region A, that recognition went to Henrietta Public Schools. The national at-large recognition went to Union Public Schools, and Jackie White, retired teacher administrator at Union Public Schools, received the Educator of the Year Award, and Nancy Petticord received the Teacher of the Year Award for Region 3. So Muskogee Creek Nation was highlighted in the National Johnson O'Malley Conference, and so we're very pleased with their contributions. In the Department of Interior Affairs, I want to first of all talk about the Historic and Cultural Preservation Program. Their workload continues to increase as well, and during this past quarter, they reviewed 1,468 projects under the National Historic Preservation Act. They attended 10 government-to-government tribal consultations with federal agencies, and they also participated in the Native American Graves Protection Act, Repatriation Act, meetings as well. So they've, again, been very busy. The numbers that they receive each quarter in reviewing projects under the Historic Preservation Act just continue to skyrocket. So, Raylyn, I want to thank you and your staff, and I know you sacrifice a lot of your time by having to travel, but we're very grateful for what you do in looking after our culture and historic preservation locations throughout the United States. They also completed the repatriation and reburial of 29 remains from the National Museum of the Health and Medicine in Silver Springs, Maryland. The remains originally came from Moundville and were reburied by the Muskogee Creek Nation and the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma in the state of Alabama. So again, looking after our historic and remains and making sure that they are reinterred appropriately. In the agribusiness department, I want to talk about the Ag Youth Program. The 6th annual All Indian Livestock Show was a great success this year. Another program that's expanding so much, may have to find another location for it or extend it. I don't know, but its own success is great. They over $13,000 in prize money and prizes was distributed to winning exhibitors this year, and so I want to thank Carly and your staff for putting this on. It's a great event. Also, I just want to report a little bit on the Council House here that falls under the Department of Interior. In the last quarter, they had 469 visitors to this site, so the interest here continues to grow as well. And in the Realty Department, as you know, that on December 31st, the President signed the acts to Stigler Act amendments, or the 47 Act amendments. With the implementation of the law, Realty's been very busy. They have produced a pamphlet, kind of the frequently asked questions pamphlet that they have available to any citizen who may want to receive that. They have done outreach to communities and other departments within the Muskogee Creek Nation to explain their services, to explain the Stigler Act amendments, and the impact that has within the Muskogee Creek Nation. They also made note that they were able to help one of our citizens who is 99 years old under their program, and I think that's pretty significant as well, because it just shows the range of the things that they provide and the range of ages that they provide, from the young to the very old. Under the Department of Commerce, under Tourism and Recreation, I think we're all aware of the success of the improvements of the Muskogee Dome. I just want to make note of a couple things. In January, they hosted the Okmulgee County basketball tournament. They had a pretty large crowd each of the 6 days, and it was the largest in the county's history, and so the return back to the schools was larger than has been in the past. The Dome also hosted the Class B regional tournament and the Class 3A area tournament at the Dome. The gate receipts were over $50,000, and The concessions were more than $30,000, and it's estimated that more than 10,000 people attended. And I know one night was probably a record crowd for the Dome, as there were several hundred people standing. So it has been a success, and I want to thank all those that were involved. We used a number of volunteers from the executive branch and in the community, and I want to thank all of you as well. They are planning for the festival that will be held June 20th to 23rd, so they're very busy at this time, and next quarter we'll report on the success of the festival. I also want to take note that under public relations, the Facebook page followers grew by 7.1% this quarter. Of note, the most viewed content was of citizen Pearl Thomas, who sang at one of the tournament games, I think 2 nights, I believe. She sang the national anthem in Muskogee, and that has had more than 21,000 views for one thing, and so just shows the interest in our culture, the Dome, and just the activity of our citizens. So I don't think Pearl's here today, but we'll give thanks to her. Great job that she did, and thank you, Pearl. In the Department of Housing, I know they've been focusing on recertifications, and that's something that hadn't been done in the past. It's been slow, but it's really picking up momentum at this point. During the past quarter, we completed 152 recertifications in the housing management, and rental properties had 37 recertifications, and they continued with inspections, and I think they had more than 150 inspections this last quarter, and I know that they completed over 300 work orders. Of note in housing is some of us were able to participate in the groundbreaking of the Elderly Village project here in Okmulgee. They're working with a firm from, it's called New Fire Native Design, who's completing the plans and the designs and specs for the site. That will be single-family units on 36 acres on North Mission Road. And so we look forward to the completion of that, and we'll be reporting on that quarterly as well. Just like to also just highlight a few other things in Light Horse administration. I know Chief Hawkins here this morning. I want to thank him and the officers for the work that they do 24/7 and looking after us and keeping us safe. But I think of note, there's several things. They did receive a COPS Tribal Resource Grant this past year of $829,000. That will enable Light Horse to purchase 20 new police units this year, replace some that they're wearing out, so we're very pleased for them in that regard. But a particular note is their interaction with other law enforcement agencies. And so the U.S. Marshals Task Force of Eastern Oklahoma swore in a Light Horse captain as a member of the task force in an effort to aid in apprehending major felony offenders within the Muskogee Creek Nation boundaries and southeastern Oklahoma. So we're very proud that we've got somebody involved at the federal level to help coordinate between the tribe and the U.S. Marshals Service. And also the Light Horse Investigations Division signed a court plea agreement with the U.S. Attorney's Office Northern District out of Tulsa, and a violent criminal subject resulting in more than 30 years in federal prison. So that's already paying off in the interaction that we have at the federal level. And that particular case, there was weapons involved, drugs, counterfeit money. So, the efforts are making significant contributions in trying to stem the tide of crime within the Muskogee Creek Nation. Note also just a couple other things. In the Office of Public Gaming, we now have an executive director. Tracy Burris was hired, and he came on in March, and so I know he's not here this morning, but we're very pleased to have him here. And finally, with our Veterans Affairs Office, during the past quarter, they were able to secure and get approved funds for surviving spouses that total more than $83,000. I think that's significant. And the back pay for awards for veteran claims were $43,000 during this quarter. So again, we continue to see improvement across the executive branch and independent agencies. And so I'm pleased this morning just stand here and provide an update for you. Glad to answer any questions that you have. And again, refer you to the executive branch quarterly report that will be available online as well as to Muskogee media. So you'll be hearing more about that as well. So, Mr. Speaker, this time I'll turn the time back over to you. Thank you. Hello.
Next item on the agenda will be approval of minutes. Planning session, March 26, 2019. Pre-agenda regular session, March 30th, 2019.
Speaker, I make a motion to approve the minutes of the planning session, March 26th, through the regular session, March 30th, with any changes necessary.
Representative Rufus Scott made a motion to adopt the minutes with any changes necessary. Representative Yehola Osborne seconded. Discussion. Discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Rufus Scott,
Yes.
Travis Scott,
Yes.
Bill Beaver, Patrick Freeman,
Yes.
Joyce Deere, yes. Johnny Green, yes. Randall Hicks,
Yes.
David Hill, Robert Hunt,
Yes.
James Jennings,
Yes.
Adam Jones,
Yes.
Thomasine Yehola Osborne, yes. Darrell Proctor,
Yes.
Mark Randolph, yes. Speaker, 14 in favor, 0 against.
14 in favor, 0 against. That motion is adopted. Next item on the agenda will be order of business. TR 19-046, a tribal resolution of the Muskogee Creek Nation authorizing Principal Chief to apply for the 2019 Title IV E-Plan Development Grant. Sponsors Joyce Deere. Motion to adopt Representative Deere, seconded by Representative Green. Discussion. Discussion. Hearing none, voice vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion is adopted. TR 19-047, a tribal resolution of the Muskogee Creek Nation authorizing Principal Chief to execute a memorandum of agreement between the nation and IHS for the employment of Lacey K. Blankenship as commissioned personnel for the Muskogee Creek Nation Department of Health. Sponsors James Jennings.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt Representative Jennings, seconded by Representative Del Beaver. Discussion. Discussion. Roll call vote, please.
James Jennings,
Yes.
Adam Jones,
Yes.
Thomasine Yehola Osborne, yes. Darrell Proctor,
Yes.
Mark Randolph,
Yes.
Rufus Scott,
Yes.
Travis Scott,
Yes.
Bill Beaver,
Yes.
Patrick Freeman,
Yes.
Joyce Deere, yes. Johnny Green, yes. Randall Hicks,
Yes.
David Hill,
Yes.
Robert Hunt.
Yes.
Speaker, 14 in favor, 0 against.
14 in favor, 0 against. That motion is adopted. Mr. Terry.
Speaker, due to the limited space, we didn't require the meeting.
Thank you. TR 19-048, a tribal resolution of the Muskogee Creek Nation authorizing Principal Chief to execute a memorandum of agreement between the nation and IHS for the employment of Sidney B. Daniel as commissioned personnel for the Muskogee Creek Nation Department of Health. Sponsors James Jennings.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt Representative Jennings, seconded by Representative Del Beaver. Discussion. Discussion. Roll call vote, please.
James Jennings,
Yes.
Adam Jones,
Yes.
Thomasine Yehola Osborne, yes. Darrell Proctor,
Yes.
Mark Randolph, Rufus Scott,
Yes.
Travis Scott,
Yes.
Bill Beaver,
Yes.
Patrick Freeman,
Yes.
Joyce Deere, yes. Johnny Green, yes. Randall Hicks,
Yes.
David Hill,
Yes.
Robert Hunt.
Yes.
Speaker, you have 14 in favor, 0 against.
14 in favor, 0 against. That motion is adopted. TR 19-049, a tribal resolution of the Muskogee Creek Nation authorizing Principal Chief to execute an Okmulgee Community Center agreement with the City of Okmulgee. Sponsors Randall Hicks. Motion to adopt Representative Hicks, seconded by Representative Travis Scott. Discussion. Discussion. Hearing none, voice vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion is adopted. TR 19-050, a tribal resolution of the Muskogee Creek Nation authorizing the Principal Chief to execute an exchange letter amendment for Indian Health Services Project OK 18-F06. Sponsors Mark Randolph. Motion to adopt by Representative Randolph, seconded by Representative Green. Discussion. Discussion. Hearing none, voice vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion is adopted. TR 19-051, a tribal resolution of the Muscogee Creek Nation authorizing the principal chief to execute a memorandum of understanding between the Muscogee Creek Nation, Alabama Quasati Tribal Town, Kelechi Tribal Town, and Thaploco Tribal Town for the method of allocation for the nation's proportional share of funding for housing and urban development funds and the 2020 Indian Housing Block Grant. Sponsors Mark Randolph. Motion to adopt by Representative Randolph, seconded by Representative Green. Discussion. Discussion. Hearing none, voice vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion is adopted. TR 19-052, a tribal resolution of the Muscogee Creek Nation authorizing principal chief to execute a NACRA comprehensive agreement for intentional excavations and inadvertent discovery of human remains, funerary objects, sacred objects, or objects of cultural patrimony for Congaree, I can't even pronounce that, Congaree National Park. Sponsors Del Beaver. Motion to adopt by Representative Del Beaver. Seconded by Representative Jennings. Discussion. Discussion. Voice vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion is adopted. TR 19-053, a tribal resolution of the Muscogee Creek Nation authorizing principal chief to execute a construction contract with mikheil Tribal Construction, LLC for the construction of 6 new homes. Sponsors Del Beaver. Motion to adopt by Representative Del Beaver, seconded by Representative Jennings. Discussion. Discussion. Hearing none, voice vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion is adopted. TR 19-054, a tribal resolution of the Muscogee Creek Nation authorizing principal chief to execute a memorandum of agreement with the city of Okmulgee for improvements to the Council House Square project. Sponsors Del Beaver. Motion to adopt by Representative Del Beaver, seconded by Representative Jennings. Discussion. Discussion. Hearing none, voice vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion is adopted. TR 19-055, a tribal resolution of the Muscogee Creek Nation authorizing principal chief to execute a temporary operating permit with Jake's Fireworks on behalf of the Glenpool Creek Indian community. Sponsors Mark Randolph. Motion to adopt by Representative Randolph, seconded by Representative Green. Discussion. Discussion. Hearing none, voice vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion is adopted. TR 19-056, a tribal resolution of the Muscogee Creek Nation authorizing the principal chief to execute a proposal letter, fee letter, and term sheet with BOKF, NA, DBA, Bank of Oklahoma. Sponsors Robert Huft. Motion to adopt by Representative Huft, seconded by Representative Hill. Discussion. Discussion. Hearing none, voice vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion is adopted. TR 19-057, a tribal resolution of the Muscogee Creek Nation confirming the nomination of George Thompson for appointment to the Supreme Court of the Muscogee Creek Nation. Sponsors Robert Huft. Motion to adopt Representative Huft, seconded by Representative Hill. Discussion. Discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Robert Huff.
Yes.
James Jennings.
Yes.
Adam Jones.
Yes.
Thomasini Hall Osborne. Yes. Darrell Proctor.
Yes.
Mark Randolph.
Yes.
Rufus Scott.
Yes.
Travis Scott.
Yes.
Bill Beaver.
Yes.
Patrick Freeman.
Yes.
Joyce Steer. Yes. Johnny Green. Yes. Randall Hicks.
Yes.
David Hill.
Yes.
Speaker, 14 in favor, 0 against.
14 in favor, 0 against. That motion is adopted. Mikheil Thompson, will you please stand and be recognized? TR 19-058, a tribal resolution of the Muscogee Creek Nation confirming the nomination of Leah Harjo Ware for appointment to the Supreme Court of the Muscogee Creek Nation. Sponsors Robert Huft. Motion to adopt Representative Huft, seconded by Representative Hill. Discussion. Discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Robert Huff.
Yes.
James Jennings.
Yes.
Adam Jones.
Yes.
Thomasini Hall Osborne. Yes. Darrell Proctor.
Yes.
Mark Randolph.
Yes.
Rufus Scott.
Yes.
Travis Scott.
Yes.
Dale Beaver.
Yes.
Patrick Freeman.
Yes.
Joyce Steer. Yes. Johnny Green. Yes. Randall Hicks.
Yes.
David Hill.
Yes.
Speaker, 14 in favor, 0 against.
14 in favor, 0 against. That motion is adopted. Ms. Ware, would you please stand and be recognized? Congratulations. TR 19-059, a tribal resolution of the Muskogee Creek Nation confirming the nomination of Luann Hudson to serve on the Muskogee Loan Fund Board. Sponsors Adam Jones III. Motion to adopt Representative Jones, seconded by Representative Hicks. Discussion. Discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Adam Jones?
Yes.
Thomasina Hall Osborne? Yes. Darryl Parker?
Yes.
Mark Reynolds?
Yes.
Rufus Scott?
Yes.
Travis Scott?
Yes.
Del Beaver?
Yes.
Patrick Freeman?
Yes.
Joyce Steer? Yes. Johnny Green? Yes. Randall Hicks?
Yes.
David Hill?
Yes.
Robert Hunt?
Yes.
James Jennings?
Yes.
Speaker, you have 14 in favor, 0 against.
14 in favor, 0 against. That motion is adopted. Ms. Hudson? She had to go? Okay, thank you. TR 19-060, a tribal resolution of the Muskogee Creek Nation confirming the nomination, confirming the approving beer sales at the Glenpool Creek Indian Community Smoke Shop. Sponsors Lucian Tiger III. Motion to adopt by Representative Huft, second by Representative Hill. Discussion. Discussion. Voice vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion is adopted. TR 19-061, a tribal resolution of the Muskogee Creek Nation confirming the nomination of Earl King to serve on the Muskogee Loan Fund Board. Sponsors Lucian Tiger III. Motion to adopt by Representative Huft, seconded by Representative Green. Discussion. Discussion. Voice vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Let me go back and change that. Let's do a roll call vote, please. Man, I gotta take these things off. These things are cute.
Robert Hunt?
Yes.
James Jennings?
Yes.
Adam Jones?
Yes.
Thomasina Hall Osborne? Yes. Darryl Parker?
Yes.
Mark Reynolds?
Yes.
Rufus Scott?
Yes.
Travis Scott?
Yes.
Del Beaver?
Yes.
Patrick Freeman?
Yes.
Joyce Steer? Yes. Johnny Green? Yes. Randall Hicks?
Yes.
David Hill?
Yes.
Speaker, you have 14 in favor, 0 against.
14 in favor, 0 against. That motion is adopted. Mr. King, would you please stand and be recognized? Where did Mr. Earl King go? He left as well? Thank you very much. TR 19-062, a tribal resolution of the Muskogee Creek Nation authorizing Principal Chief to purchase property located in McIntosh County, Oklahoma. Sponsors Robert Huft. Motion to adopt by Representative Huft. Second by Representative Jones. Discussion. Discussion. Hearing none, voice vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion is adopted. NCA 19-046, a law of the Muskogee Creek Nation amending NCA 17-199, a law of the Muskogee Creek Nation appropriating funds to One Fire Holding Company, LLC, for the purpose of establishing a propane business. Sponsors Lucian Tiger III. Motion to adopt the substitute by Representative Jones. Second by Representative Jennings. Discussion. Representative Travis Scott.
Thank you, Speaker. I have a question in regards to this. Are we partnering? Are we buying partial ownership? What are we doing with this?
None of the above. Hopkins purchased the propane truck that was previously purchased by One Fire. They're in the process of making payments on that. So what One Fire will do is purchase, this gives One Fire the authority to purchase propane in the off season, as well as replace any tanks that need replaced, as well as valves that need replaced on the propane tanks.
So whose license are we going to operate on?
Hopkins. Hopkins is going to oversee everything that is within their jurisdiction, within their boundaries.
So what about the customers that are not part of Hopkins that we don't buy tanks for, we won't be able to service those tanks? We're going to have to allocate more money?
No, that is incorrect, because Hopkins is going to service the ones that they currently have in theirs, but we won't switch over. This will also include the churches. The tanks are the ones that need swapped will be swapped. The ones that won't will not, but we will just continue to purchase the way we have previously.
Because the reason I ask is if people down south are not customers of those individuals, we can service those tanks.
It'll be serviced just like it is now through social services. Thank you, Representative Travis Scott. Any other questions? Representative Hill.
No, I think we've been in discussion as far as for community services program. We offer the assistance. We don't do the business side of it. We will continue to offer that assistance.
Thank you, Representative Hill. And also this LIHEAP services, we'll send letters out to those customers, let them know what's going on, as well as the churches as well. Any other questions? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Adam Jones.
Yes.
Thomasina Hall Osborne. Yes. Gerald Parker.
Yes.
Mark Randolph.
Yes.
Rufus Scott.
Yes.
Travis Scott.
No.
Dale Beaver.
Yes.
Patrick Freeman.
Yes.
Joyce Steer. Yes. Johnny Green.
Yes.
Randall Hicks.
No.
David Hill.
Yes.
Robert Huff.
Yes.
James Jennings.
Yes.
Speaker, I have 12 in favor, 2 against.
12 in favor, 2 against. That motion is adopted. NCA 19-048, a law of the Muscogee Creek Nation amending MCNCA Title 35, subsection 10-110, entitled Service Provided. Sponsors Joyce Deere.
Speaker, motion to postpone to next month.
Representative Deere has made a motion to postpone until May's meeting, seconded by Representative Hicks. Discussion. Discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Joyce Steer.
Yes.
Johnny Green.
Yes.
Randall Hicks.
Yes.
David Hill.
Yes.
Robert Huff.
Yes.
James Jennings.
Yes.
Adam Jones.
Yes.
Thomasina Hall Osborne.
Yes.
Gerald Proctor.
Yes.
Mark Randolph.
Yes.
Rufus Scott.
Yes.
Travis Scott.
Yes.
Dale Beaver.
Yes.
Patrick Freeman.
Yes.
Speaker, you have 14 in favor, 0 against.
14 in favor, 0 against. NCA 19-048 will be postponed until May's meeting. NCA 19-049, a law of the Muscogee Creek Nation appropriating incentive funds to be used for summer youth financial literacy. Sponsors James Jennings.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt, Representative Jennings, seconded by Representative Dale Beaver. Discussion. Discussion. Roll call vote, please.
James Jennings.
Yes.
Adam Jones.
Yes.
Thomasina Hall Osborne.
Yes.
Gerald Proctor.
Yes.
Mark Randolph.
Yes.
Rufus Scott.
Yes.
Travis Scott.
Yes.
Dale Beaver.
Yes.
Patrick Freeman.
Yes.
Joyce Steer. Yes. Johnny Green.
Yes.
Randall Hicks.
Yes.
David Hill.
Yes.
Robert Huff.
Yes.
Speaker, you have 14 in favor, 0 against.
14 in favor, 0 against. That motion is adopted. NCA 19-050, a law of the Muscogee Creek Nation authorizing the expenditure of grant funds awarded from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration for target capacity expansion, medication-assisted treatment, prescription drug, and opioid addiction. Sponsors James Jennings.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt, Representative Jennings, seconded by Representative Dale Beaver. Discussion. Discussion. Roll call vote, please.
James Jennings.
Yes.
Adam Jones.
Yes.
Thomasina Hall Osborne.
Yes.
Gerald Proctor.
Yes.
Mark Randolph.
Yes.
Rufus Scott.
Yes.
Travis Scott.
Yes.
Dale Beaver.
Yes.
Patrick Freeman.
Yes.
Joyce Steer.
Yes.
Johnny Green.
Yes.
Randall Hicks.
Yes.
David Hill.
Yes.
Robert Huff.
Yes.
Speaker, you have 14 in favor, 0 against.
14 in favor, 0 against. That motion is adopted. NCA 19-051, a law of the Muscogee Creek Nation authorizing a supplemental appropriation to the Muscogee Creek Nation Election Board's fiscal year 2019 budget. Sponsors James Jennings.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt, Representative Jennings, seconded by Representative Dale Beaver. Discussion. Discussion. Roll call vote, please.
James Jennings.
Yes.
Adam Jones.
Yes.
Thomasina Hall Osborne.
Yes.
Gerald Proctor.
Yes.
Mark Randolph.
Yes.
Rufus Scott.
Yes.
Travis Scott.
Yes.
Dale Beaver.
Yes.
Patrick Freeman.
Yes.
Joyce Steer.
Yes.
Johnny Green.
Yes.
Randall Hicks.
Yes.
David Hill.
Yes.
Robert Huff.
Yes.
Speaker, you have 14 in favor, 0 against.
14 in favor, 0 against. That motion is adopted. NCA 19-052, a law of the Muscogee Creek Nation amending MCNCA Title 19, subsection 2-103 to increase the stipend of the election board members. Sponsors James Jennings.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt by Representative Jennings, seconded by Representative Travis Scott. Discussion. Discussion. Roll call vote, please.
James Jennings.
Yes.
Adam Jones.
Yes.
Thomasina Hall Osborne.
Yes.
Gerald Proctor.
Yes.
Mark Randolph.
Yes.
Rufus Scott.
Yes.
Travis Scott.
Yes.
Dale Beaver.
Yes.
Patrick Freeman.
Yes.
Joyce Steer.
Yes.
Johnny Green.
Yes.
Randall Hicks.
Yes.
David Hill.
Yes.
Robert Huff.
Yes.
Speaker, you have 14 in favor, 0 against.
14 in favor, 0 against. That motion is adopted. NCA 19-053, a law of the Muscogee Creek Nation authorizing a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Higher Education Emergency Scholarship Program's fiscal year 2019 budget. Sponsors James Jennings.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt, Representative Jennings, seconded by Representative Dale Beaver. Discussion. Discussion. Roll call vote, please.
James Jennings.
Yes.
Adam Jones.
Yes.
Thomasina Hall Osborne.
Yes.
Gerald Proctor.
Yes.
Mark Randolph.
Yes.
Rufus Scott?
Yes.
Travis Scott?
Yes.
Dale Beaver?
Yes.
Patrick Freeman?
Yes.
Joyce Steer?
Yes.
Johnny Green?
Yes.
Randall Hicks?
Yes.
David Hill?
Yes.
Robert Huff?
Yes.
Speaker, you have 14 in favor, 0 against.
14 in favor, 0 against. That motion is adopted. NCA 19-054, a law of the Muscogee Creek Nation appropriating funds to the Muscogee Creek Nation Department of Education and Training to host the Every Student Succeeds Act Edge Conference collaborative event. Sponsors James Jennings. Motion to adopt Representative Jennings, seconded by Representative Dale Beaver. Discussion. Discussion. Roll call vote, please.
James Jennings? Yes. Adam Jones?
Yes.
Thomasini Hall Osborne? Yes. Darrell Proctor?
Yes.
Mark Randolph?
Yes.
Rufus Scott?
Yes.
Travis Scott?
Yes.
Dale Beaver?
Yes.
Patrick Freeman?
Yes.
Joyce Steer?
Yes.
Johnny Green?
Yes.
Randall Hicks?
Yes.
David Hill?
Yes.
Robert Huff?
Yes.
Speaker, you have 14 in favor, 0 against.
14 in favor, 0 against. That motion is adopted. NCA 19-055, a law of the Muscogee Creek Nation authorizing a donation to the Morris Youth Sports Organization. Sponsors Dale Beaver.
Speaker, motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt by Representative Dale Beaver, seconded by Representative Hicks. Discussion. Discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Dale Beaver?
Yes.
Patrick Freeman?
Yes.
Joyce Steer?
Yes.
Johnny Green?
Yes.
Randall Hicks?
Yes.
David Hill?
Yes.
Robert Huff?
Yes.
James Jennings?
Yes.
Adam Jones?
Yes.
Thomasini Hall Osborne? Yes. Darrell Proctor?
Yes.
Mark Randolph?
Yes.
Rufus Scott?
Yes.
Travis Scott?
Yes.
Speaker, you have 14 in favor, 0 against.
14 in favor, 0 against. That motion is adopted. NCA 19-056, a law of the Muscogee Creek Nation authorizing a donation to Native American Link, Inc. Sponsors Dale Beaver.
Speaker, motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt by Representative Dale Beaver, second by Representative Randolph. Discussion. Representative Yehola Osborne.
Thank you, Speaker. In our committee meeting, I have made the note that this organization received appropriation last August, so I'm not going to support this.
Thank you, Representative Yehola Osborne. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Dale Beaver?
Yes.
Patrick Freeman?
Yes.
Joyce Steer?
No.
Johnny Green?
Yes.
Randall Hicks?
Yes.
David Hill?
Yes.
Robert Huff?
Yes.
James Jennings?
Yes.
Adam Jones?
Yes.
Thomasini Hall Osborne? Darrell Proctor?
Yes.
Mark Randolph?
Yes.
Rufus Scott?
Yes.
Travis Scott?
No.
Speaker, you have 11 in favor, 3 against.
11 in favor, 3 against. That motion is adopted. Representative Dale Beaver.
Thank you, Speaker. We have Gus Smith here. She's the director of Native American Link.
Thank you for being here. NCA 19-058, a law of the Muscogee Creek Nation authorizing a donation to assist the northeastern region of the Oklahoma Indian Missionary Conference to host the 2019 annual conference of the Oklahoma Indian Missionary Conference of the United Methodist Church. Sponsors Patrick Freeman Jr. Representative Freeman made a motion to adopt, seconded by Representative Hill. Discussion. Discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Patrick Freeman?
Yes.
Joyce Steer?
Yes.
Johnny Green?
Yes.
Randall Hicks?
Yes.
David Hill?
Yes.
Robert Huff?
Yes.
James Jennings? Adam Jones?
Yes.
Thomasini Hall Osborne? Yes. Darrell Proctor?
Yes.
Mark Randolph?
Yes.
Rufus Scott?
Yes.
Travis Scott?
Abstain.
Dale Beaver?
Yes.
Speaker, you have 13 in favor, 0 against, 1 to abstain.
13 in favor, 0 against, 1 to abstain. That motion is adopted. NCA 19-059, a law of the Muscogee Creek Nation amending NCA 18-077, a law of the Muscogee Creek Nation reaffirming support for the protection of the Muskogee sacred site of Hickory Ground near Wetumpka, Alabama, and authorizing a special appropriation for the cost of necessary measures related thereto. Sponsors David Hill.
Speaker, motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt by Representative Hill, seconded by Representative Proctor. Discussion. Discussion. Roll call vote, please.
David Hill?
Yes.
Robert Huff?
Yes.
James Jennings?
Yes.
Adam Jones?
Yes.
Thomasini Hall Osborne? Yes. Darrell Proctor?
Yes.
Mark Randolph?
Yes.
Rufus Scott?
Yes.
Travis Scott?
Yes.
Dale Beaver?
Yes.
Patrick Freeman?
Yes.
Joyce Steer?
Yes.
Johnny Green?
Yes.
Randall Hicks?
Yes.
Speaker, you have 14 in favor, 0 against.
14 in favor, 0 against. That motion is adopted. Next item on the agenda, the other business. Do we have any other business? Hearing none, next item on the agenda will be announcements. We have any announcements from council? Representative Travis Scott.
Speaker, we have some members from the Northeast Missionary Conference that are in attendance today on the bill that we just passed.
Would you all please stand and be recognized? Any other announcements? Representative Dale Beaver.
I got two announcements. Next Saturday, Native Stone Baptist Church is having a celebration service on Saturday. Then on Sunday, we're having a dedication service at 2 o'clock. So we invite everybody that can hear me to come out and celebrate with us. We're about 3 miles going towards the Paul Pop, 121st Street, on Highway 75. And also, I just want to thank the National Council and the citizens, the friends and family that sent a text message or just a handshake during the passing of my sister's death. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Representative Dale Beaver. Any other announcements from council? If not, I have one. April, would you please stand real quick? It is April's birthday, so if you wouldn't mind, can we please sing happy birthday to April? Ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear April. Happy birthday to you. Any other announcements from council? Entertain a motion to adjourn. Representative Huff made a motion to adjourn, seconded by Representative Proctor. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. This time I'd like to ask Representative Rufus Scott to please give the benediction.
Father in heaven, Lord, we thank you for this day and for your blessings, Lord, we just ask that you continue to bless the nation, Lord, bless our citizens, and hear those who may be in need of comfort for lost loved ones, or that may be battling illness. Just be with them and touch them with your healing hand. And Lord, we just thank you for everything that was accomplished today, and we just ask that you be with us and bless everybody for the rest of the day. We pray in your name. Amen.
Amen. Meeting adjourned at 10:50.